Here.
Present.
Sorry.
Mr. Nielsen,
Here.
Mr. Ceniceros,
Present.
Mrs. Barnett,
Here.
Mrs. Sashanek,
Here.
Ms. Stollard.
Here.
We all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Follow me in that. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I remind you to silence your phones, and we'll take a moment of silence here. Thank you. Next item is board member statements. Any of the board members got any statements they'd like to make?
I had an opportunity to attend First Friday at Lake and Prep. It's always such an exciting experience because the students are being celebrated. And more than anything, you just see the level of camaraderie our students have for each other as they clap for each other and acknowledge each other and their accolades. So it was absolutely wonderful. It's wonderful every month, but with the present state of everything being what it was refreshing that our students are still able to come together and really celebrate all their growth.
Thank you.
So I had the opportunity, the privilege to attend Littleton's celebration of an A school, and it was absolutely amazing. I have been in education for 25 years, and I have never seen one go from the start time to the finish time, just like they said. I mean, we started at 8 o'clock, we ended at 8:25, and by 8:30 we were done. Those kids were amazing. The way they clapped for all their friends, you could tell that they were genuinely excited when their friends' names were called. I also came over here the other day to the science fair. It was so exciting. I learned the best paper towels that you need to buy, and it's actually the Kirkland brand. Okay, it's not the ones that you get in the grocery store. It's not the name brand. It is the Kirkland brand. Those are the best ones. I learned about the best long-lasting lip gloss, which was very important to me. I see you guys looking. I'll let you know when we're done with the board meeting, okay? I took pictures. And I learned about caffeine, how caffeine raises your heart rate from a Monster as opposed to coffee. And then there was one girl there, I took pictures of her project because I thought it was so exciting. She made an automatic dog feeder bowl, like dog feeder thing where you just crank it out and it feeds your dog. It was so exciting. Yeah, that was it.
Thank you very much.
I, as well, was able to attend the district science fair and was thoroughly impressed with the automatic dog feeder bowl. I wanted to buy it so that we could just take it home to my house and I don't have to worry about my dogs anymore. I also had the joy of watching the Folklorico dance show at Freeman Fine Arts Academy. I love that we're embracing the diversity on campus in our schools and allowing students to display their culture, but also students who it might not be their culture to be able to learn about another cultures in their community. And then as well as I got to see the Missoula Children's Theater play of Alice in Wonderland. That was great. I love seeing students being able to act, and the fact that they get it done in a week is amazing, from costuming to memorizing their lines to placement, and I just can't say enough. It's an amazing program, and I'm so glad that we have it coming to Freeman Fine Arts twice a year through grants. And then lastly, I was here for school choice night, and it was great to see all the different schools here. I loved that we had Charleston Union High School here for our 8th graders who are moving on. I think that that's a great community building practice, and I'm excited that maybe we can continue that on in the future.
Thank you so much.
I have one more. I forgot. I was here for school choice too. It was so awesome to see all the kids here and how excited they were, and the cheerleaders. And I overheard several parents talking about how much they really enjoyed the food trucks that were outside. And I didn't really have a problem. I came here like midway, a little after 5. I didn't have a problem parking because it seemed to just go like in a rotating motion. As you came in, you maybe had to drive around once, but by then someone was leaving so that you could just, there was a spot to park.
Thank you, Mr. Cisneros.
Good evening, Littleton community, colleagues, and everyone joining us for February regular board meeting. I want to first start by acknowledging that February is Black History Month. This month is an opportunity not only to celebrate the achievements, leadership, and resilience of Black Americans, but also to reflect on the ongoing pursuit of justice and equality in our country. In public education especially, this month reminds us of the amount of generations who have fought for equal access to quality schools, fair funding, and safe learning environments. Their courage laid the foundation for the opportunities many of us have today. I also want to address the communication that was sent by our superintendent regarding ICE. I support the superintendent's decision to inform our community about the student and parental rights and provide clarity during a time of uncertainty. At the same time, I want to speak personally and clearly as a member of this governing board. I do not believe that ICE has a place in our schools. And lastly, I want to share that I recently had the opportunity to attend the advocacy conference in Washington, D.C., where I met with our Congresswoman Aelita Grajiva to discuss federal education policy and the needs of our district. It is an important conversation about ensuring that schools like ours receive the resources and protections our students deserve. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. I guess I would add my comments to the science fair as well. One presentation had to do with music and how it affected your heart and heartbeats. The other one had to do not with paper towels, but with detergents and which one was the best cleaner there. You remember that? And the other one I thought was interesting was potato batteries. If any of you have 3 potatoes and want to put some pennies and coins in them and an LED light, you can have your own little flashlight if you want to carry your batteries around with you. And I too had the opportunity to attend the celebration for the A rating over at Littleton STEM Academy. The challenge that Mr. Atuhini gave to all the kids was we want a 3-peat next year. So thank you all for your comments. Okay, superintendent's report.
Good evening, Littleton board, staff, and community. Since our last meeting, our students and staff have been busy with a number of artistic and educational activities. It started with the Freeman Fine Arts Ballet Folklorico winter performance, which was accompanied by the dance team. Our students put on a beautiful performance and should be very proud. Next, the district spelling bee took place, with each of our campuses being well represented. As usual, our students did a wonderful job, with Mario Vega from Country Place being the spelling bee champion and Brandon Mianes of Collier being the runner-up. Both students moved on to the regional competition, of which, if I'm correct in this, I believe Mario Vega ended up 4th in that one in the region, so congratulations. Our annual school choice night took place on Monday, January 26th, with many families and students attending to learn more about our schools. This year, more student performances were added. Food truck vendors were invited to provide an opportunity for families to enjoy, excuse me, in Tolleson Union High School District, representatives were on hand to assist any families with 8th graders on questions they may have had about their child starting high school next year. At the end of that week, Missoula's Children's Theater was again at Freeman Fine Arts Academy to provide our talented actors and actresses with an opportunity to shine in their performance of Alice in Wonderland. It is amazing how in only 1 week they learn their lines and are able to perform on stage in front of an audience. Great job, Falcons. Not to be outdone, Littleton Firebirds also showed off their talents during the week of January 30th by performing their band concert. They did an incredible job and should be proud of their musical talents. This past month, we were also informed that Littleton STEM Academy letter grade was elevated to an A by the state of Arizona. On Wednesday, February 3rd, they recognized this achievement during their monthly awards assembly as being back-to-back A-rated schools for the years 2024 and 2025. We're now looking forward to them getting a 3-peat with this year's testing season opening up soon. Lastly, our annual district science fair took place at the Littleton District Office, with many schools being represented and being judged as the best in district. Our students continue to show their academic talents, with many engaging in detailed projects. Thank you to the staff and students for taking the time to participate in these important academic events. As I close this month's report, I want to take time again to recognize staff accomplishments and recognitions of our staff and students since the last board meeting. Ms. Noor Abujahara of Quinton STEM Academy for now being recognized as the VFW Middle School Teacher of the Year and moving on to the national level. Mario Vega for representing the district and county, or country, district and county in the regional spelling bee and taking fourth place. And the first place winners from District Science Fair in the following categories: K2 Science and Engineering was from Estrella Vista Elementary School, 3-4 Engineering from Estrella Vista Elementary School, 3-4 Science from Quinton Elementary School, 5-6 Science from Country Place Elementary School, and 5-6 Engineering, Estrella Vista Elementary School, 7-8 Science from Trace Rios Academy, and 7-8 Engineering from Collier Business Academy. Once again, congratulations for these much-deserved recognitions and achievements. We look forward to sharing even more great accomplishments at future meetings as we continue to build tomorrow together. Thank you. That's my report.
Thank you very much, Dr. Freeman. Appreciate that. I'm sorry. Not as bad as I did in a meeting earlier today. Item number 7, district highlights.
So this evening, we have several monthly awards for Kid at Hope, Treasure Hunter. We have our Attendance Award and National Board Certified Teachers. So we'll start with Governing Board. If you all could go over to the backdrop. And we put some chairs this time so that if there's a long wait, you can take a seat. So we'll start with calling up Dr. Manahan to recognize the Littleton Education Foundation Kid at Hope of the Month and the Littleton Education Foundation Treasure Hunter of the Month. Oh, and do you have that? Just a reminder that the Education Foundation provides a lot of financial resources to our students around the district. They provide opportunities for field trips and other things. They sponsor grants also. So if you'd be interested in either joining the foundation or donating, please feel free to reach out to Dr. Manahan.
Thank you, Dr. Lafitte. Thank you, President Nielsen and members of the board. The foundation's excited to be here. We are proud to represent such a great district where we've got great music programs, theater programs, strong science programs, strong academic across the district. It's an honor to be able to support you all in the work that you do. One of the things, smaller things that we do is we recognize our Treasure Hunter and Kids at Hope Awards each month, giving them a $25 gift certificate to Target in this case. I'm going to start with our Treasure Hunter, Ms. Eliana Romero. If you want to come on up. There you go. Let's turn around. All right, I've got a long paragraph or 3 to read about you from, I don't know who your nominees were, but they were amazing in their writing about you. So let me start that you're from Littleton STEM Academy. You're the Littleton Ed Foundation Treasure Hunter for the month. You continue to shine as one of Littleton STEM's most dedicated and dynamic staff members. In your first grade classroom, she creates a warm, structured, and joyful environment where students feel supported, challenged, and genuinely cared for. She consistently goes above and beyond to meet the needs of every child, showing just how deeply she values their growth and well-being. Her leadership extends far beyond her classroom. As a team lead, Ms. Romero models true dedication, holding herself accountable, supporting her colleagues, and ensuring her team stays aligned and successful. She leads with clarity, compassion, and professionalism. She exudes this same energy with outside of the classroom tasks such as coaching sports and posting on the Littleton STEM social media accounts to ensure the community is continually informed about the epic things happening on their site. With this information and more, we did edit it, tried to keep it down, would have gone on for another hour and a half, probably, with great things to say about you. The Littleton Ed Foundation is proud to present you Ms. Eliana Romero as the LEF Treasure Hunter of the month for February. Congratulations. You're gonna go over here. Anybody want to come up with you? Okay, we also do a Kid at Hope Award every month, and this month's February Kid at Hope is Christopher Ventura. He's on his way, but isn't here, so I'm going to read about him, and when he comes in, you all give him a standing ovation, okay? So we'd like to recognize Christopher V. from Estrella Vista STEM Academy as the LAF Kid at Hope for February. He shows a keen ability to balance being a middle schooler with making good choices. Christopher shows strength in his willingness to move away from distraction, to focus on his work, make better choices, etc. He is definitely a middle schooler, for all that means, but does not let his friends' actions define who he is and or have a negative impact on his future. Being a Kid at Hope means that our students recognize that they have future goals, they have talents, they're capable of success, and every day is an opportunity to climb toward that ideal future. Christopher understands that being successful involves having friends, showing up to school every day, and often making the more difficult, less fun choice in order to reach future goals. He is a silent leader, but he probably doesn't even realize that, and his peers do look for him for guidance. Congratulations, Christopher Ventura, on being the Littleton Ed Foundation Kid at Hope for February. So, get him ready.
Okay, our next award is for our quarter 2 perfect attendance. So as we started a traveling trophy for our school that has the highest attendance for the quarter. First quarter was Estrella Vista. So for the second quarter, who do we think won it this time? Estrella Vista. Next, I'm going to call up Ms. Samantha Armstrong, who is going to present our National Board Certified Teachers.
Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Lafitte, the executive team, and Littleton community, I am thrilled to be presenting to you our National Board Certified Teacher Showcase this evening. National Board Certification is often referenced as the gold standard of teaching excellence, where teachers put their practice up for review against the criteria and rigorous standards for their certificate area, and research indicates that board-certified teachers have a positive impact on student learning, school culture, and are proven to stay in the profession longer, far longer than their counterparts. What makes this more notable is that those who choose to seek out National Board Certification do this voluntarily and choose to have the certification and maintain it to improve their craft and to support the students they lead and serve. Tonight we are celebrating two wonderful ladies. We have the work of Miss Kelly Gregg from Freeman Fine Arts Academy, who maintained her certification, and we have one new member of our National Board Certified Teacher cohort, Miss Rahima Adawami from Estrella Vista STEM Academy, who successfully completed the process to obtain her certification. Of note, Miss Adawami was also recognized for her achieving excellence in scoring a perfect 4.25 out of 4 on the early childhood literacy assessment. In my coaching of 13 years for National Board Certified Teachers, she is the only, well, her and Jordan Thompson of Freeman Fine Arts both scored 4.25s this year. So that is not common. In fact, to score a perfect 4 national board wide, it's between 3 to 5% of those that apply hit what they call the high achieving, so a 3.8 to a 4.25. Very few hit that 4. They're my two unicorns. I've never seen a 4.25, so go them. We are continuing to partner with the Arizona K-12 Center for funding and coaching support for those who wish to pursue certification, and do so with the support of our board and district as we do work to grow our numbers of certified teachers in our district. We currently have 6 total National Board Certified teachers who are in the process of certifying across the district, and they are supported primarily through our candidate support providers. That is Ms. Raj Chima from Country Place, Elena Jones from Tres Rios, and myself. We support each month with monthly cohort meetings. I attend meetings at the K-12 Center to secure funding and ensure that our candidates have scholarships to be able to do the work and minimize the impact on them. I would like to thank you for this opportunity to share the amazing work done here at Littleton, supporting our National Board Certified teachers and continuing to grow new ones to join our ranks. And I would like to now ask Ms. Adawami and Ms. Gregg to join us for a photo opportunity.
So this is Christopher Ventura. A lot of great words have been read about you earlier, so what we're going to do is repeat those and then have you jump in and take a picture. So Littleton Education Foundation would like to recognize Christopher V. from Estrella Vista STEM Academy as the Littleton Education Foundation Kid at Hope for February. He shows a keen ability to balance being a middle schooler with making good choices. Christopher shows strength in his willingness to move away from distraction to focus on his work, make better choices, etc. He is definitely a middle schooler, but does not let his friends' actions define who he is or have a negative impact on his future. Being a Kid at Hope means that our students recognize that they have future goals. They have talents, they are capable of success, and every day is an opportunity to climb toward that ideal future. Christopher understands that being successful involves having friends, showing up to school every day, and often making the more difficult, less fun choice in order to reach future goals. He is a silent leader, which when I went in to tell him he was selected, he kind of just sat there and and that was it, the quiet nod. So I would agree, it's the quiet leader who shows up every day and making the difficult choices, and your peers do look to you for guidance. So congratulations, Christopher, on being the Littleton Education Foundation Kid at Hope for February. So we're gonna come over here and get a picture.
Next item on the agenda is call to the public. Do we have any? Okay, thank you. Pass thereby. Any of you who are family or youth that want to go home at that time, we'll go into the business part of our meeting right now. We appreciate you being here and recognizing all of you who do so much to make the school and the district the way that it is. Item number 9, consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Next item. Item number 10 is information items. Would you like to, Dr. Fleet, take care of that for us?
Good evening, President Nilsson, Governing Board, staff, community. So last month, I shared my updated entry plan, which included the initial work, kind of developing what we're going to work through as a district. Part of that led with our district strategic plan, which our first committee meeting, steering committee meeting, actually was today. The next major component of that entry plan is an operational reorganization designed to better align our people, systems, and resources with that future direction. What I am presenting tonight is an interdependent What I am presenting tonight is an interdependent organizational model that blends a traditional operational structure with a network-based approach. This concept emerged through a conversation that I had with another superintendent, and the review, and he shared his review of his enterprise model that he had and how it prioritizes being highly functional and the cross-functional collaboration. As I explored these models further, it became clear that a hybrid approach would allow us to maintain operational clarity while also creating collaborative networks that drive strategic work across the district. In this model, we maintain strong, clearly defined teams while also leveraging networks led by our chief officers. These networks promote higher level strategic thinking, shared accountability, and system-wide coherence. Information technology serves as the common connector across all networks, ensuring alignment, data access, and communication throughout the organization. So when you look at the model, what we're trying to do is move from task-driven to results-focused structures using the traditional and network models to interdependently do this. Next slide. So when you look at the slide, it's organized into 5 interconnected areas. The first area is governance and accountability. You can go to the next slide, please. And the next one. Thank you. Governance and accountability. This area focuses on maintaining strong accountability structures that support effective governance and decision-making. It ensures board policy alignment, legal compliance, fiscal responsibility, and transparency so the district operates with integrity and clarity at every level. Item 2, instructional excellence and student achievement. This network centers on curriculum, assessment, professional learning communities, and instructional coaching. It anchors our mission and vision, directly supporting the instructional core and driving improved academic outcomes aligned to our strategic goals. Number 3, employee experience and talent development. This area focuses on recruiting, developing, and retaining high-quality staff. It includes onboarding, leadership development, evaluation systems, and succession planning to ensure our employees feel supported, valued, and equipped to do their best work. Number 4, family and community engagement. This network emphasizes strong partnerships, effective communication, targeted outreach, and equity-focused practices by strengthening trust and shared ownership with families and community. This work becomes a foundational pillar of our district culture. And number 5, operations and organizational effectiveness. This area includes finance, transportation, facilities, and compliance. These functions ensure smooth day-to-day operations while aligning resources and systems with district priorities to support teaching and learning. As a part of this reorganization, several positions are being recommended to be elevated realigned, split, or created to better support this structure and allow leaders to have more discipline and dedicated focus to their targeted areas. These include Chief Communications and Strategic Partnerships, which is a position elevation, Chief Human Resources Officer, position elevation, Executive Director for Information Technology, position elevation, Director of Data and Assessment, position realignment, because currently that position is now Director of Data Assessment and grants, federal, state, and federal grants. Director of Human Resources would be an elevation from a coordinator. Director of State and Federal Grants would be a new position as it splits from proposed split from Director of Data and Assessment. Director of Student Services would be a new position, which would now shift some of the responsibilities that have been covered by our Special Education Director into a more global position that supports family and communities. Director of Transportation, this is a position elevation, and Coordinator of Community Relations is a position elevation. While several of these positions will come forward as future action items, the total investment associated with these changes is $312,503.68. This includes $52,884.21 for elevated positions, $178,600 for new positions, and $81,019.47 in total benefits. This represents 0.58% of the district's total budget, so that's less than 1%. Importantly, this is not an additional cost to the district. As we began this work, I asked my leadership team to approach budgeting with a systems thinking mindset and to take a defensive stance on current spending. Through identifying efficiencies, renegotiating agreements, we have generated sufficient savings to absorb these changes. One example is the renegotiation of our International Teachers Agreement, which that one item alone is saving us more than $200,000. This chart reflects the staffing structure necessary to support our work under the theme of Building Tomorrow Together. I will be happy to answer any questions.
We have amazing staff, and I want to value them and pay them what they're worth, which would not be possible. You're worth so much more than we could possibly pay you. But I am very concerned with this increase, and I know that we have saved money, and I appreciate that. I just don't know if that saving money is sustainable in our budget, because I certainly don't want to elevate someone, give them a salary, and then 2-3 years from now be like, sorry, we can't afford that salary because I'm not going to take money from someone. So I'm very leery of all of these elevations all in one time. Like, I would like to see a gradual approach if possible. That's just kind of my feelings right now.
So, President Nelson, Board Member Soshnick, so to clarify that, again, by renegotiating these contracts and limiting other spending, there is no additional cost. So all expenditures will stay within the same budget frame. There's nothing additional. So there's no new cost.
So I have the same reservations Amy had. Thank you for that clarification, Dr. Lafitte. That being said, if there is no change in the budget and it's not going to affect us in that regard, and this is just my thought, I'm be very candid, those funds could be reallocated to our teachers and to people who really need the money. I don't mean any harm, because everybody deserves whatever they have, and we have the hardest working everything in Littleton. But that being said, I don't think our leadership is starving. Our teachers are. You know, so my thought is there has been times, even during this school year, where we had an amazing teacher who said, I'm having to leave, not because I don't want to be here, not because the students burn me out, not because of any other reason, but because I can't afford to drive from home here every day. It's costing me to teach my students, and her heart was broken. If we had this money and we can reallocate these funds, let's reallocate them to the teachers so that they're able to have a livable wage, and they're able to eat, and they're able to come here, and they're able to teach our students. Our leadership's okay.
So, Board Member Nelson, or President Nelson, Board Member Barnett. So with regards to that, if you take a look at some of the other items that were placed in here, there's also a certified salary structure, and which increases starting teacher salary as well. And when you look at where we align ourselves with regards to other districts in our surrounding area, we are within that top 5 group. There are some that are still in the $40,000 range, and so this puts us in that top group. Also, as a district, we've done what most other districts haven't done in the surrounding areas. Our staff has gotten continual raises, and I say that from the perspective of someone who left a district that hadn't gotten a raise. And so so our staff gets continual raises, which has ranged anywhere from 1% to 2% annually here. So that it has no impact on the budget. Our teachers are still getting those continual growths, and the amount of money that, if it were spread out between our teachers, wouldn't create the increase greater than the 2% that's going out.
Mr. Cisneros, and then we'll go.
Yeah, I appreciate the work that went into this, and I do agree with what Amy and Rachel have stated. You know, I know we want to continue to grow as a school district, but I did a lot of research for organizational charts that are very similar to districts our size, and this would take us way ahead of the curve in administrative positions. When you look at Litchfield Elementary School District, which has almost 11,000 students, almost double the size of us, we would have very similar amounts of administrative positions with about, I think, 5 or 6 less directors. The cabinet will be very similar in size, and I think that's a big concern for me. You know, I understand that, but elevating a lot of positions also comes with a lot of more support staff that's needed, whether that's hiring new secretaries to sit under those directors and now chief officers. So I think those are costs that I don't know if we have those numbers, but is also something to take in consideration. And I think also the benefits, the auto allowances, everything that goes in with it as well. But I also just want to know, you know, our letter grades have gone down in recent years. We've recently had a principal resign mid-year, and I really feel that we started a strategic plan conversation, so I feel revisiting this after the strategic plan is done, so the board can then have data to back up this decision related to how it's going to improve student achievement would be where I'm feel more comfortable with. I know Linda had something to say as well.
Linda?
So I actually agree with everybody in a sense, and coming from a district, Litchfield, who has to cut $3.4 million from our budget, one of the things I have always loved about the Littleton district is that I want to say we're pretty frugal with our savings, and we haven't had to make cuts. Some of these I do agree with wholeheartedly. I do think that we need a director of transportation. We absolutely need a director of student services. The director of student services I would like more discussion on, because we have a director right now, Ms. Kaufman. So are these two going to be the same, or are they going to be different? I do understand from talking with you, Dr. Lafitte, about Mr. D'Alessio, with the Director of State and Federal Grants, and then the Director of Data and Assessment, about being overextended, and in order to raise, you know, our scores, you know, unfortunately, as much as I don't like data and assessment, I am just not a data person. I do believe we do need to look at it so that, you know, we can see where our strengths and where our weaknesses are. And sometimes that's not easy to do when we're trying to make sure we get our money that is owed to the school, that's owed to our students through state and federal grants and Medicaid and everything else. I am very pleased to see that the first-year teacher salary did go up. That was very exciting. I would like to know, is because I did not see it and I could just be missing it, that's me, but where the classified stands, if theirs has gone up too. I'm just curious. Littleton takes exemplary care of their classified staff. That has never, ever been an issue, ever. As I've always been told, if one school is not working for you, we have several others for you to choose from, and just come see me and we will help you find your home. But I would like to know if everybody is, moving up, if they are going to be able to move up also.
So President Nelson, I'll try to address board members, Senator Searles, Stollard, collectively here. So a lot of the information listed is the reason for the shift, because we've seen a decrease in grades. What we've been seeing is we've been seeing an overextension of staff, meaning they've been crossing over into all these areas to try to do everything. And what I once learned, and what I believe wholeheartedly from my experience, is there's that jack of all trades, master of none. When you do everything well, you do nothing good. And so I wanted to put a structure in place so that everyone could be focused and disciplined in their areas. And we've begun to see movement towards our work with professional learning communities. We've begun to see growth in our student data. We've begun to see, when I talk district-wide as a whole, we've started to see more continuity. Are there some areas where there's still gaps? Yes. But what starts to happen is, as you begin to prolong these, you continue to extend people. And the challenge for me becomes, and we always talk about recruitment, but we always then say retention. And when we begin to put extra stress and strain on everyone, and we do not allow them to become highly competent at what they do well and do best, you do begin to lose individuals. And I think we have an opportunity here that while there may be position elevations, there aren't salary elevations on the charts necessarily there. So when you look at what we've done, we've collapsed areas on our chart, because what I started to identify was we had instructional salaries and operational salaries, but they're both doing the work for the district. So we collapsed both into those higher areas. One thing that I think we need to look at also when we get to the salaries, because right now we're still on the structure itself, these are placement schedules. This doesn't mean everyone moves with this, because when we looked at our numbers, everyone's salaries are typically already above those. And so while we're in the classified, we changed the entry level dollars and we changed several pay grades to some of the different positions. What we've seen is the majority of our staff are already making significantly over that. Again, remember, as a district, over the past few years, everyone has gotten salary increases, which for me was important to understand, because I wanted to make sure there wasn't any compression, meaning new people come in and they make what people have been here made. There's no compression in that, just simply because we've continuously moved faster than those entry-level numbers are. Those are just to start you on the system. Once you're in the system, then you'll get your whatever percent that Mrs. Pena and her teams identify as a possible number that we can move. I do recognize the concerns, but for me, when you see that we've identified areas to create efficiencies, when you see that we're trying to say we want to improve the district, and this is me trying to right now just communicate. I want everyone in the organization to be successful. We have 600 staff members. I want everyone up here at the dais to be successful. For me, success comes last, because as everyone else is successful, I'll reap the benefits. So I'm not leading with me, but when we say we don't want to move this because we're leery, but we know that the data shows us that when people begin to focus, they do better. Areas that we have struggles, we know we need to improve. My belief is, and I'll be kind of blunt, my belief is you all selected me because you believe that I could make the right decision to help move the organization forward. I would contest that over the last 7 months, I've moved the organization forward, and that I've made significant changes that have been for the positive of the organization. For me, it's looking at what do we do now to continue that. I wanted to make sure that I came up here and didn't spend new money. I wanted to come here and make sure we didn't do anything that would create a fiscal shortfall. I wanted to come up here and make sure we could support all staff. So we looked at our structure, we looked at our salaries, we looked at what could we do for our current teaching staff, what could we do for our classified staff, so no one group was isolated. For me, this is about how do we begin to lead, and then how do we begin to grow and move our organization forward.
Thank you for that. I appreciate your words, and I agree. You have moved us forward, and I have trust in you.
Ms. Soshanek?
I'm not against this. I just feel like I need more information, and I know that this is an information item. We're not voting on this, but I was here when we went from 4 assistant superintendents down to chiefs down to 1, and that was hard. And I don't want to have to agree to this, and then 5 years from now, an entirely different board, because I will not be on that board by then, have to make those decisions and have those conversations, and that's what puts me in a leery situation.
Can President Nelson, Member Soshnick, can you explain to me what that means? And I guess I'm trying to understand the position of.
Many years ago, we had 4 assistant soups and a superintendent, and financially, we could not afford that. And thankfully, through people leaving and things like that, we didn't have to tell someone, hey, your salary gets lowered, or we have to demote you on the scale.
Right. And
it was a hard conversations that were had, and I don't want to.
And I understand that piece. I guess what I'm trying to clarify, and this is the thing, again, myself, what I kind of guide our team on, the work and the conversations had with Mrs. Pena, we are sure and positive that there won't be changes, because also what will be coming to the board, and this has been communicated to you guys. I know there's additional information that's needed, and again, some of our studies are either preliminary or they came in last minute, so the studies won't precede this. But what I really want to do is put us in a position so that as we begin to go out to hire, as we go out to recruit individuals, our structures are set and sound so that we're not behind the 8 ball, so that we're not playing catch up while other districts have jumped out ahead of us to capture the talent that exists. I get the concern, but again, for me, it's and I say this to everyone I encounter. To me, I just need 2 things: trust and patience. And everything that I've said, I've done, we've been moving in those directions. We've been able to identify savings. We've been able to improve systems and structures. We've been able to identify challenges and concerns, and we've been correcting those pieces. And so with that being said, that's it.
I guess I will just put in my comment of it. Over my career, I've been in 5 different organizations, and 2 of them that were most successful went through what we called a restructure or a redesign. At that particular time, we looked at different organizations. This one particularly is one that we eventually got rid of because it was too much of a little box. Everybody does their own little thing, and I stay here and don't do it. I see in this circular one, which we've at least proposed here, that from the top down, like the pyramid structure that we've always been used to, this one has from the center, moves out. The center circle represents the highest level of officers. The outer circle represents entry-level employees, individuals who contribute, but the circular structure is more inclusive and improves communication. One of the things we did ask with the new superintendent is be more inclusive, more transparent, and improve communications. At least the structure I've seen in the past, and it's been successful. We may have to invest in that, and that's what we had to do in the organizations that I was in the past. We did have to put some money forward. Previously, this board has put money forward to invest in things to generate what kind of an end we wanted out of it. My thought is, we need to look and give him the support that we need to do. Yes, we maybe need to analyze the the cost a little bit, but we need to let Littleton be the one that leads, and the other community school districts can look and say, okay, this is what Littleton is doing. Let's do after Littleton, rather than us looking at all these others and saying, we can't, we can't, we can't. We need to look at this at least as a visionary type thing, as at least a circular organization. The amount of money in it, yeah, we may need to look at that. I agree with that. But we do need to invest in something so that we do understand and communicate well with a different organization there.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Lafitte. And I know we had a vote before we brought in an interim superintendent almost a year ago to add new administrative positions or elevate administrative positions. And we had this very similar conversation at that time before Curtis and Linda joined the board. But even looking at Avondale Elementary's organizational chart, it's very similar to our current chart. 3 people in the cabinet and then about 8 directors that are under them. And I am in support of that position and in that structure. But I think moving to a structure that has almost 5 members of the cabinet and then about 11 directors for a district our size is a lot to ask. And if people do need extra support, then I think the conversation to have is, what are more support staff? How can we have the conversations for support staff? If directors need assistance and the cabinet needs assistance, then what more support staff do they need within their offices to proceed at their jobs? Because they also have secretaries, they have people within their departments. So if there is an issue internally with people reaching over, then I hope that issue is addressed internally. But as of right now, I'm not in support of moving forward with this organizational chart as is.
Rachel?
So, Dr. Lafitte, I thank you again for, I guess, this well thought out plan. But that being said, I think it's about balance. We don't want to be behind the 8 ball, but we also have to be cognizant of the fact that no dynasty was built in one day. We can't just say we're going to do something and, if this is going to happen, if this is what's supposed to happen, I think that we need to do it, being mindful of the fact that we need to move slowly towards it and see how this works before we say we're going to go ahead and eat this elephant with one bite. So, wow, I see what you're saying, and I love the idea of Littleton being kind of on the forefront of change and doing something different and being bold and vivacious. But I think there's a way in which to do it that is tactful and that is a way that protects the integrity of all that we have, the integrity of our staff, the integrity of our students, and considers all things. So I just think we need to just kind of pump our brakes a little bit. That's just my thought.
And again, I respect those comments. What I just try to communicate is, I don't like playing catch up, and I don't want a problem to happen and then we say now we need it, but it's too late. We've seen that. We see it with some of our buildings. We see it with a lot of things. And by seeing that these things are happening and the changes that are needed to help us get there, for me, the challenge becomes this. Prior to me coming in, I saw the board meeting and the delay to say, let the next superintendent make that decision. The next superintendent came in and is trying to make that decision. I need the board's support to move it forward.
You made an amazing, like something you just said right now was so amazing and pivotal. You made a great point about our buildings. Let's take that funds and put it in our buildings. Like that's something that's tangible. If we have that money, I'm so glad you mentioned that. Let's put the money. We can figure out how to reallocate that because we got schools that are falling apart. And I think that takes a little bit more precedence over building a bigger cabinet. That's just my thought.
Different funding sources, Mrs. Barnett. M&O versus capital. Different funding sources.
Any other comments on that item? Item 10B, the IPA mid-year reflections.
I'd like to call Dr. Hay to present.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Mr. Verrill, if I could just have you go straight to the second slide, we'll talk about this. Tonight I'm going to share the school's integrated action plans, or IAP, mid-year projections based on our current data. We do this every year just to give you a midpoint check-in. So Before we review the outcomes, I would like to revisit our district goals for this year, which serve as the foundation for each school's IAP goals. Goal 1 was to increase progress and skills in K-3 reading and 4-8 math. This goal is separated into 2 focused measures, one for early literacy in grades K-3 and one for mathematics in grades 4-8. This goal aligns with Governing Board Principle 1, Every Student a Learner, which emphasizes a rigorous, viable, and consistent curriculum for all students. Instruction is differentiated to meet the needs of a diverse student population, and students demonstrate growth towards mastery of state standards. Goal 2, strengthen student connection through attendance or family engagement. Schools had the flexibility to choose the focus of their third goal. Some schools selected a specific attendance goal aimed at increasing average daily attendance and reducing chronic absenteeism. Other schools selected a broader family participation goal, such as increasing parent involvement in school events, curriculum nights, or community programs. Whether a school emphasized attendance or family engagement, both options align to Governing Board Principle 3, Families as Partners, as both attendance and family engagement rely on strong, ongoing collaboration between home and school. So here's our overview. Our mid-year progress monitoring shows encouraging momentum across the district. 7 of 9 schools are on track to meet their math goal, while the remaining 2, and this is important, use end-of-year math assessments without a specified mid-year assessment to determine goal progress towards attainment. So those are the 2 that you see missing out of the 9. 6 of 9 schools are on track to meet their ELA goal, with the other 3 schools, again, using end-of-year literacy measures that likewise do not have specified mid-year measures. While some schools chose to use end-of-year assessments without a specified mid-year measure to determine progress towards goal attainment, it is important to emphasize that this does not mean progress is not being monitored. Every school continues to track student learning and progress through the year using common formative assessments, collaborative grade level and team data meetings, ongoing teacher-driven progress monitoring, and school-wide review of trends and targeted interventions. This has really moved forward as we begin to implement and put into practice the PLC process. These tools provide continuous actionable data, allowing instructional teams to adjust instruction, provide interventions, and monitor growth well before end-of-the-year assessments take place. Because of this ongoing system of monitoring, the absence of a formal mid-year checkpoint in a school's written IAP goal is not necessarily a cause for concern. Students' progress in both ELA and math is being actively reviewed and supported throughout the year. For attendance, all 6 schools that selected an attendance goal are on track for success, showing strong consistency across the district. The remaining 3 schools selected family engagement for their third goal, which is written as a percentage of total increase in the participation rates of families at school events and programs. Overall, the mid-year IAP updates reflect a strong commitment to educational excellence and continuous improvement. The targeted interventions and support strategies in place are helping drive further success as we move toward the end of the school year. Thank you for your attention tonight and for your continued support of our students, staff, and school communities, and I will be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Dr. Hagan. Comments, thoughts, questions?
Oh, okay. Oh, I always cut you off. Okay. No, thank you for the information. I know attendance, since COVID, has been just more of a goal we've always had. So I think in future time, when we have our discussion at the beginning of the school year, when we're creating our new goals, could we revisit, what would be a possibility? Obviously keeping attendance, but what is something we can combine with attendance, whether it's family engagement and attendance? Because I think attendance is really, really important, but I think our schools have been doing an amazing job at it. So maybe it's time to find something new.
Thank you so much for that.
Thank you. Linda, did you?
Thank you for your presentation, Dr. Haight. It's probably just my own inept ability here to understand, but when you were talking about the math and the ELA, the 7, 2 schools don't do mid-year and 3 schools don't do mid-year for ELA, I was a little confused when you're saying there's still, I understand there's still progress monitoring and everything else. I don't doubt that. but when they don't do mid-year assessments, but the other schools do, are they just tracking their data from like, I don't know, give an example, like weekly dibbles or, stuff like that?
Member Stollard, members of the board, yes, it's how they wrote the goal specifically, because we're a Title I district, each specific one. So which assessments they use sometimes don't have a mid-year point, or they wrote it in such that that is not what we reviewed overall in the district. So this is one of the reasons that we want to move forward towards the PLC model, is consistency of practice driven at the district level, to have consistent measures, consistent goals, so that everyone is working in the same direction, but also have the ability to manipulate those goals based on their individual needs. So thank you for the question.
Thank you so much. Any other comments? Not, moving on, next item, discussion items. Item 11A.
Yeah, so several months ago, board member Sinisteros asked then President Soshnick if we could have a discussion on land acknowledgement. That was agreed upon, and so now that's just an opportunity for you guys to discuss.
Thank you, Superintendent Lafitte. Thank you, members of the board, for bringing this forward. I requested this item to begin a conversation about whether our district should consider developing a land acknowledgement. Recently, many educational institutions across Arizona and the country are adopting land acknowledgements as a way to recognize indigenous communities who have historically been on the land that we are all now on. So I just kind of wanted us to have this conversation to see how we feel about adding a land acknowledgement policy to our agenda. It would be right after roll call vote. One of the members of the board would just read the land acknowledgement. That's how it would work out formally. But first off, I wanted to feel how the board felt about it. I feel like if we move forward with it, we would have those conversations with tribal partners in our district. And I feel like that also gives our district an opportunity to recognize our tribal community, as we are right next to the Gila River Indian community. So I feel like this is an amazing opportunity for us to really build a relationship with our tribal communities. So I just brought this forward for that discussion.
Marcus, thank you so much for bringing this forward. I think it's absolutely amazing idea. I'm a part of another organization, and they partner with Blue Sage, and at all of the events, they do a land acknowledgement. I think though it's a small gesture, it's a beautiful gesture. I think that it shows respect and credence for the past and the present and the future, and just a respect for who came and where we are and where we stand, and just really acknowledgement of the sacred ground that we stand upon. And I think it's absolutely amazing. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, nothing at all. There's no reservation that could be had, and I think that is a beautiful thing. Thank you for bringing that forward.
Any other comments there? I know my comment would be more, the land use is important, but why as a school district do we do that? Why isn't a municipality doing that? Why aren't we in with Avondale? Why aren't we in with the city of Tullison, who actually has more land than we, as a school district? We have 7, 8 little isolated things out there. The other thing is, we as a board look on the vision, the goals, the mission and the strategic plan of the school district. Could that be something that we put into maybe a proclamation, read it, put it into our district office and have that there, and then let the municipalities take care of recognizing those things? We've got, just 7 schools, 8 schools here, and that would be my thought. It's not something that would come up every time, but we do acknowledge it. We keep it here and in the office, and those who come in would know that we recognize that. But at the same time, the purpose of it would be to acknowledge that group, but you're talking about the municipalities that really are the ones that oversee that.
Thank you for the comments. And I know that the city of Towson and Towson Union High School District both do land acknowledgements currently right now at their meetings. That's kind of actually where I got the idea from. In Phoenix Union, Tempe Union, Phoenix Elementary, Creighton, I believe Pendergast does a land acknowledgement at their board meetings. So it's more or less recognizing our tribal nations at every board meeting. But I'm more than happy to even go a step further and write a policy and say, we'll have that statement posted up in our front offices and to make sure that the community is educated on a lot of this. So I am in support of that. But if
I'm just concerned, every time we should be reading things what we're about. We believe that all children are capable, no success with no exceptions. They're the things that do come up with, maybe, the policy, what did I call it, proclamation, whatever it might be, something that's put there, just not that the time is used at the beginning of this to focus more on the kids rather than the land.
I think a lot of our students aren't a native. A lot of our students do come from various nations. So I think even doing that is giving them respect and acknowledging. And so if it takes us a minute, with 60 seconds, we scroll on our phones for hours a day. So I think just a small gesture like that would be something that we could do to show respect, especially with us being aware of the carnage and the things that have happened to these nations. So I think, even for our students, a lot of our students, they don't get that acknowledgement because even as we have these beautiful cultural events, we don't have a big enough population of Native American students for them to be recognized. So this is something we could do for them.
Yeah.
Take 60 seconds. I don't mind waiting another minute. I'll be here another minute. I don't mind.
Municipalities, they do recognize, and it's great that they do that. So do we need anything further? Have you got anything that?
No, I guess I don't know where we're going next.
Well, if you can put something together, it's a discussion item, let's put it together and at least maybe I call it a proclamation, you call it a policy. Let's look at it and see what we come up with and go from there.
Okay, perfect. I will work with Dr. Lafitte in drafting up something, and maybe even we could schedule meetings with tribes and see what we can work with them to build a relationship, if that's okay with you, Dr. Lafitte. Or I can do it on my own, and then I'll bring it forward.
Yeah, if you could do that.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that. I'll set up a meeting with them, and then I'll bring something in the next couple of months for a vote. Thank you.
Next item, first reading of JICA.
President Nelson, members of the board, so last school year, there were questions and concerns regarding the student dress code policy, which for Littleton is more of a uniform policy on wearing student uniforms. And so I was asked to follow up on that initiated item to talk about what would a change look like for us. And so what we did was looked at other policies that exist, but then went to ASBA and looked at their base model policy that exists. And so if you notice on your attachment, there are the prior policy is in there as a strike through, and then the new policy is in. The new policy essentially moves it towards just what a dress code could or should look like, not really giving it all the specifics. As a district, what we would do is just work through committees to identify what the specific dress code is, which is what we do annually anyway and is identified within the student handbook. I would like to turn over to Mrs. Garrison to provide a little bit more information.
Thank you, Mr. President, Governing Board. As Dr. Lafitte said, we do look at this each year through the parent-student handbook. So what we've done is we've set up an opportunity for people to weigh in on how we could redefine the dress code. There's a group coming together on February 19th. It consists of parents, teachers, and administrators coming together to talk about what we need to make sure that we define as we talk about what the dress code is. We did talk to we got some feedback from the Superintendent's Youth Council about, we looked at things like who wears uniforms, advantages of wearing uniforms, downside, and then important things to figure out as we define what a dress code would be, right? And they had a lot to say, including we must be clear that we cannot wear PJs. I thought that was interesting that they brought that up. So we have a meeting set for February 19th, a follow-up one on 3.5 should we need it, because I'm sure that there will be some good discussion. And then our starting point, though, what makes this not such a difficult task is in our current handbook, we have a section there because our schools all have casual dress down days. And we have defined what was allowable and not for the casual dress down days. And then we went and we pulled some dress codes from a bunch of other districts. So that's where we're going to start when we sit down on the 19th.
Comments?
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Lafitte and administration for bringing this forward. I'm very, very excited for our district to be moving in this direction and making sure that we get input from stakeholders. But I think most importantly, I want to know, what is the communication and transition plan in effect, if there is one. This will be a huge transition for our community. In hopefully a very positive way. So I just want to know from the administration's point, when does the administration plan to send out communication to parents and let them know that, we've had this discussion and that we are, that we're moving away from uniforms.
So President Nelson, Board Member Sinisteros. So right now, if you notice, this is brought as a first reading
Yeah.
because it would be a policy change.
Mm-hmm.
If there are no recommended changes to it, the policy would then come back at our March meeting, I believe, for approval. At that point, the handbook committee would complete their work, and then it would be communicated out to families of these are the changes, and this is what's being identified in the handbook. And so at that point, but it takes until March. Once we get the board to say yes, we're gonna this will be an affirmative vote for us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. That makes complete sense of what I figured. I think that's all I had. Yeah.
Linda?
First, I want to thank you for the information. I am excited to hear what they have to say. I just want to make sure that, as a parent myself, that students are important, and I feel that their voices, especially the upper grade students, their voices need to be heard. But I also feel that parents need to be heard, as realistically and honestly, parents are the ones that have to buy these clothes for their children. And being a Title I district, we know that not all parents can afford some of these clothes. Don't get me wrong, I have been on the bandwagon for no uniforms since my child started school here, like 30 years ago, probably. But I do want to take into account, all of the parents and, the students also.
Thank you for all the work that's been done on this. I'm very excited to see this come forward. I would just really like to stress that after this is passed, if it passes second reading, we really do actively work with our parents and our PTAs and our community to get this information out. Sometimes a lot of our parents don't see that handbook until they're going to enroll their kid for Meet the Teacher Night. And that's a huge ask for them to suddenly, if they're used to uniforms, to not have uniforms and to find out that uniforms aren't required. I know when we made the change with jackets a few years ago, I was at Meet the Teacher Night and parents were shocked and they were talking to me. And so I, as a previous middle school teacher, don't want to imagine if, as a family, I went and bought brand new uniforms for my kid and then found out that they could wear regular clothes, and being that kid that goes to school in a uniform may not make them the happiest to fit in with their family. So I would stress that we need to get it out as fast as possible in as many avenues as possible before we leave for a summer break.
Yeah, President Nelson, Member Soshnick. So just to reiterate, after it is approved as a vote, parents will be communicated that there will be a change. The exact change won't be communicated because that will be once the committee's work is done. It will be communicated that the district is moving away from uniforms and would be moving into a dress code policy that is a little more relaxed, but the definitions wouldn't come out until that committee work is completed. So there'd be some pre-communication and then additional communication once it's solidified. The committee will be done. The handbooks are planned to be done for the April board meeting, correct? Right, so those will be provided as information, so the final identified what it looks like will be communicated at that point in time. Or
Yeah.
maybe a little prior, so.
And I want to just, reiterate what Amy said, is that, whether it's at the next board meeting that this is on for final approval, could the administration bring forward a plan to let the board know how they plan to have the transition? Laying out how they plan to communicate with staff, and because staff is going to need a lot of help with PD training to make sure that they understand the new guidelines and things like that, and then making sure how we communicate that to PTAs and parents, and then possibly that even takes, hosting a town hall or an information session with the community towards the beginning of the school year or the end of this school year to let parents know if they have any questions, whether we can open up an anonymous form that parents can just submit questions into administration, so that when we go into the next school year, that we are aware of what are the biggest things that families are concerned about with the transition. Just want to make sure that we have a concrete plan in place to make sure that it goes very smoothly. So, but I do appreciate all the work.
No, fair enough. President Nelson, Member Sinisteros, yeah, that's not a problem. I think right now we've had a lot of parents and staff that have been wondering, because we've had a lot of staff and parents that have been more on the concerned end because they were used to the uniform piece. So they know something is coming. They're aware something is coming. So it's not it won't be a surprise as it's brought out and communicated out to them. So that shouldn't be a challenge or concern for us.
I guess just one comment or question I have is, those who do still have uniforms, they can wear them. There's not going to be any, or looking at, you guys are still using uniforms and we're not supposed to. We don't want that. And there may be those that parents have the kids and kids, that hand-me-downs. I was thinking of Mercy House, I'm sorry, but they go out and get uniforms, so when they have the back-to-school days or the backpack days, those are there. So part of that communication is out to the community as well, and I think that's what we've talked about. But I want to make sure that if there's still families that want to wear uniforms because they're hand-me-downs and they don't have to go buy them, that we can do that and not be, ridiculed or whatever the word might be.
Correct, President Nelson. To move away from strictly uniforms to an open dress code policy just means a kid can wear anything that falls within the regulation. And typically most dress codes are really look towards things that have negative statements on T-shirts, show body parts or excessive showing of body parts, things like that typically fall into a typical dress code policy. So, if a student still wears a uniform top and bottom, or mix it up with jeans and T-shirts, it typically it would be fine. It's just based on that.
Yep. All right, next item, these next few items are going to be action items. Item A, job description for fiscal year 26-27.
Yep. President Nelson, Governing Board, the administration is looking for approval for the job descriptions listed for the 26-27 school year.
So I think following our,
Sorry, is there,
He has to lead that.
let me get,
No, you just asked if someone wanted to make a motion.
is there a motion to approve? Sorry. I'm new with this, okay?
After the second, if you get a second, then this discussion.
Okay.
no, I think Dr. Lafee, we should have discussion before a motion is made, if that's okay. I just think following the governing board's discussion with number 10, I did see that there was support for a transportation director and student services. So I am in support of moving forward with a motion that does include the approval of a student services director and transportation director, and tabling the other positions until that can be brought forward after our strategic plan.
Can that be done? Is that appropriate?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the motion, he made the motion.
That's my motion.
To approve, go ahead.
My motion, yeah. sorry, my motion would be to approve the following job descriptions: Director of Transportation and Director of Student Services, and table the other 1, 2, 3,
How many of the other ones are there?
5, 6, and table the other 6 positions.
Have you got a number for that, Marcus? A12, A1, what are the?
Oh, you want the numbers? Okay. So I will make a motion to approve Director of Student Services, Director of Transportation, 12A and 12A6 and 5. And then to not include 12A3, 12A1, 12A2, 12A8, and 12A7. That's my motion.
All right. Is there a second to that?
I would second that. Those two, approve those two, A5 and A6, but table the others.
Okay. There are 5 and 6. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Or do we have another motion?
Yeah, she's not clearing the vote, so
Abstentions or
you
no?
have, are they no's or abstentions? Yeah, you do a roll call.
I abstain.
I abstain as well.
And I'll abstain as well.
So,
President Nielsen, will you entertain another motion?
no, the motion will pass.
To the abstains and to the 2 in favor, the motion does pass.
Thank you.
My motion passed.
Yes. Thank you for letting us take care of that. Abstain. So that goes in. Hang on, please.
So it will pass, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's,
It's right here.
yeah, because it's 3 abstentions,
Mhm.
so because there were 2
There were
yeses.
2 there. Thank you. So that one passes as amended by Mr. Siniceros. Item number, or item B,
It's B.
placement schedule.
Placement schedules, yep. So, Governing Board, in front of you this evening are proposed for the 26-27 salary schedules. Yep. Placement schedules. These schedules primarily reflect placement for new hires and do not represent across-the-board adjustments for current employees. As a part of this work, Littleton participated in a classified compensation study conducted by a CESO, an external consulting firm. The study included comparisons with several peer districts, including Avondale, Phoenix Hill, Pendergast, Buckeye, Balts, Union, Creighton, Litchfield, Towson, and Liberty. Preliminary findings indicate that Littleton is generally aligned with comparable districts with 6 classified positions identified for recommended pay grade adjustments. Those 6 pay grade increases have indexed across the classified placement schedule and are reflected in the draft classified pay grade document before you. From a salary compression perspective, current employees are largely unaffected. Salary increases implemented over the past several years have outpaced new hire placement levels, resulting in a low risk of compression. As a result, the proposed schedules include minimal modifications focused primarily on alignment and study-based recommendations. Overall, the delta shows that Littleton's classified and certified wages are at or above those of comparable districts. Two notable adjustments include the proposed $50,000 starting salary for certified teachers and a revision to the entry-level classified salary schedule, both of which align with study recommendations and have been reviewed collaboratively by Human Resources and Finance. Administrative salaries represent a slightly different picture, with compensation at or below peer districts in some areas. When taking administrative contracts into account with regards to comparability, there are some unforeseen factors that need to be considered. For example, some districts provide benefits or stipends outside of the published salary schedule, which could include items such as car and cell phone allowances, experience stipends, and education incentives. These add-ons signify increased total compensation beyond what is shown on schedules. Contract days should also be considered when looking at comparison. Contract length is critical when comparing salaries across districts. As an example, one of the comparison group's principals work fewer days but has a higher daily rate than the Littleton principals. When adjusted to the same number of contract days, this district's starting salary exceeds Littleton's proposed schedule. Daily rate comparisons provide a more accurate view of the salary alone. From fiscal standpoint, the budget impact of these changes is minimal due to the district's strong financial position. We believe the proposed 26-27 salary schedules represent a responsible and strategic investment in our workforce while maintaining fiscal stability. With that, it is the recommendation of the administration that the governing board approve the 26-27 salary schedules.
Is that placement schedules?
Yeah, they're placement schedules.
Okay.
Yep.
Do I have a motion from the board to approve item number 12B?
12B.
I move that the governing
Discussion?
board approve the staff placement schedules for fiscal year 26-27.
Have a second? I'll second it.
Discussion, please. Okay.
Please, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. I'm confused because we usually don't do motions like that. So we usually have discussion.
Using proper protocol, so you go motion, second, discussion, then the vote occurs.
That's great to know because we've never done it like that, but okay, that's great to know. Only when it's in the
It's online,
benefit.
it's written as.
Okay. So I appreciate the information provided, but I did send in several questions and requests related to classified placement schedule. More or less, I don't know if you had any of that information available.
So just, yeah, ask the specific questions and we can provide that. I'll have Ms. Musil come on up so we can respond to any questions you have for us.
Okay. So we did a comparison of other districts related to classified staff.
So we engaged members in Sarah,
Yeah.
President Nielsen. We did a compensation study of all of our pay scales and all of our placement schedules. And so the one that is in front of you today, the recommendation based on the comparisons of the districts that Dr. Lafitte included in his summary was to change cell 1 of pay grade 1 to that dollar amount that's there of $15.51. So that's an increase of 46 cents. Our placement schedule is then indexed across for years of experience in education, and it's indexed down by pay grade. When we did that process, as we normally would in any year, all of our pay grades were at or higher than what the compensation study suggested for our pay grades. And all of our current employees, with the exception of 2, would fit into the placement schedule as presented.
Okay. And currently, for the years that the experience is considered, when we look at all of the placement schedules, my biggest concern is the ability that administration can potentially be placed higher at salaries than classified staff can.
So if we follow the administrative placement schedule, if you start out at 11 years of experience, you can go straight on the average of about $100,000 on average. And if you're a classified staff, after 12, it takes you 12 years to get on average a $2 to $3 raise between the placement schedule. So my concern is looking at other districts on average, why does it take classified and teachers slower on average based on experience to grow rather than administration?
So, President Nelson, Board Member Sinicero, so typically what happens when you look at any salary scale, especially through a comparison, you look at across markets and you look at what the movement is, and then the percentages of movement. So typically, classifieds move at that rate. They move at, typically people are gonna move in that maybe 1% to 2% across those scales. Administration is a little bit different just simply because it's a larger dollar amount to start with. And so because of that, the movement looks more exponential.
Can I add to that, Dr. Lafitte? So remember, these are placement schedules. So these are incoming salaries and placements for our potential employees. Our current employees, based on the action of the governing board, is what they get their increase. So last year, the governing board approved a 2% increase for all current employees. It wasn't differentiated based on employee class or classification. The year prior, the governing board approved a 2.5% increase for all employees. And so every employee received the same increase from their current salary or hourly wage.
No, I appreciate that clarification, and I think I'll stand by it, but I don't support an administrative placement salary schedule that allows administrators to be able to make more money after 10 years than the average growth of a classified or educator in the district. And again, I get it, it's new staff, but I think when I am somebody who is a classified staff, most of them are community members and they're family members, they're retirees. And so I think when after I retire and I see based on my experience, if say I'm 65 and I'm retired and I come in, I am coming in on average making $17 an hour depending on where I go on the placement salary schedule. But an experienced administrator can come in after 12 years from a neighboring district and move up much more faster on the salary placement schedule. And I think what was concerning is I did a lot of research comparing to other districts. Most districts have and comparing to our size, Avondale Elementary, Casa Grande Elementary, districts that are our size, most of them have a 10-year experience cap on administrative growth in terms of the salary placement schedule. So I don't know if that's something that's ever been explored, but I'm not in support of a placement schedule that allows administrators to make more money over classified and certified staff. So that is my first concern, and I did send in those concerns to the superintendent's office. My second concern is the auto allowance for administrative placement salary schedule. The only district in the entire valley that does an auto allowance besides Littleton is Buckeye. And that's a big issue for me because I don't believe it is fair to instructional support staff or other staff who have to go through and write their own mileage reimbursement, typically are submitted in for requests. But if I'm a director or a principal or a chief officer, I don't have to do that. I just get a certain allocated amount that goes towards my auto allowance. And more or less, when I am already making 6 figures, if I'm a teacher or a classified staff and I see that an administrator can make on average between $1,000 and $3,000 a year extra in car allowance, I am not in support also of an administrative placement salary schedule that allows administrators to get an auto allowance. I do believe that they should move like the rest of our staff and move to a mileage system. because it is not common practice in any other school district besides Buckeye Elementary in the entire valley. So that is my second concern about the administrative placement schedule. I would be in support of a schedule that actually has a 10-year experience cap among the steps, so that after 10 years of experience, there is no ability to actually be able to move up to step 7, because the only way you can get to step 7 if you're an administrator is if you have a PhD and you have 16 years of experience, adding the steps together. So I am in favor of just having a more equal administrative placement schedule that looks more similar to classified and certified, because I do believe that having an auto allowance for administrators when the rest of our staff does not have that luxury is not ethical. It's not fair to classified and certified staff. So that's where I stand on the auto allowances.
So President Nelson, board member Senator Searles, just to clarify, the district has been doing this practice for several years, and the belief as to why they went to this practice is the cost savings actually that would occur because administrative staff typically are driving around the district on a daily basis. And so the cost that it would take for administrative support, whether it's that director or hires administrative assistant to support with the documentation for the finance department, the additional time that it would take for them to review and get payments ready, the cost savings is greater than the cost expenditure because you would need to potentially add at least a 0.5 staff to support all of that component. That would be my rationale as to why it exists.
Thank you for the explanation. I think my biggest concern is, if that's the case, why is it not more of a common practice for other school districts? Would you know that answer?
So what I could state, President Nelson, board member Senator Searles, is the one misleading thing is sometimes there are things that are within administrative salary schedules, that are within administrator salaries that don't appear on those charts. And I'm going to say that as an individual who's been an administrator in multiple districts, there are benefits that I've gained that were not documented. And so sometimes what's seen here, because we're being transparent, can be misleading when you compare it to other districts. It's important to understand that oftentimes these things are not violation, yeah. So, yep. So that's it.
Thank you.
That's my concerns with the administrative placement schedule. I appreciate the information, but again, I don't believe that having an allocated auto allowance, whether I'm an administrator or not, and this is not to say that it happens, but what it does is whether I'm getting that money or not, a certain amount a month, it prevents me or can encourage me to not go out on the sites. And that's not to say that that's a practice, but what it does is because I'm allocated a certain amount of dollars without evidence to prove that I'm visiting campuses and supporting instructional staff. I think
that's where we have to learn to trust the staff. We're here and we're trying to teach them to be self-governing. And that's where we got to have a little bit of faith in these people that we've hired and that work here with us, that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing.
But that's not saying that's what they're doing, but what I think is that depends on the individual as a person. And I'm not saying that is what's happening, but what it does is if we as a board enable a system that can then encourage that kind of a practice, depending on the individual, I think is not an ethical practice. So that's that. Linda, go ahead. That's my point.
I just had a question, Ms. Musil. The certified beginning pay of the $50K,
Yes.
that does not include the uplifts, right?
Are you talking about their classroom site fund?
Yeah,
money?
the site funds and the money that they get
So, Member Stallard, it does include one component of the classroom site fund, which is 8,100. It's under the placement schedule as a note, but then they also are eligible for additional classroom site fund goal attainment,
Okay.
which is, you'll see later on the stipend schedule as to what that additional funds could be, as well as there's a component in the current classroom site fund plan that they can serve on a committee and receive $800 a year as well.
Right, that, okay, I
Those are
remember that.
addition.
I want to make sure, because I know so many times that they will say, oh, look, come work for us and you can, make all this, and they don't tell you that all of those extras are already added into that pay.
Correct. So we only have the one component included in that on the salary placement schedule.
Thank you for that.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other?
Yeah. Yeah, I had things that I had also sent in to the superintendent's office related to classified placement. The reason why, again, I wanted to follow past precedents is not make a motion before we have discussion, was because I wanted to advocate for classified staff to have a potential study of creating a longevity pay for classified staff. That if that could be something that could be taken into consideration, establishing longevity pay. I know Dysart does it, and my research that I did for other districts, they do it over a certain year. It's not more or less of a stipend, it's a longevity pay to make sure that classified staff are compensated. And I also did request data on how would it look like to move from, on average, if I'm a classified staff, it takes me 12 years, yes, to get to step 4, but throughout those years, I'm moving up slower, 3 to 5 years just to get to step 2. So if I start off within grade 1, it takes me 5 years to move to grade 2.
So clarification, this is a placement schedule. Staff still get annual increases.
Yes,
This is
Dr.
just where they start. That's just
Dr.
where they
Lafie,
start.
I understand that, but what I'm trying to say is that if this is somebody who has experience and they're coming into our district, this is not creating a place where we are expecting classified staff.
What it's trying to do is ensure that we can get people at comparable costs across the district or across the state, but also is to ensure we don't create compression issues. We want to make sure that when a person comes in after 4 years, they're not getting anything greater than a person who has already been here for 4 years. So that's why the structures look how they look.
Rachel?
Okay, so I understand what everyone's saying, and I really appreciate your passion, Marcus. I think the bigger concern is that we have classified staff that is making less money than kids at McDonald's. So this is a bigger issue than we're going to be able to address tonight realistically. This is like a huge thing. I'm in 100% agreement with you, but this is a lot more. I think right now, unfortunately, our district, our modality in and of itself is contradictory, because this evening we've heard, on one hand, we don't want to be behind the 8 ball, but then on the other hand, we've been doing this for years. So I think we have bigger fish to fry and bigger issues to address than are going to be addressed right now. I think they're valid issues. I think about, like I said, I've had children who work at McDonald's who make more money on their first job than our classified staff who have worked here for years. So that is a huge issue, one that we need to address, but one that we're not going to be able to address tonight, Marcus.
Yeah, and again, the buck stops with the board. So then that comes down to, are we as a board going to be able to, hey, we're going to table this discussion and actually allow staff in the next couple of weeks to come forward with data that supports our classified staff. And that is the reason why the board should always have discussion before a motion is made, because then it puts us in a position where it's a win-win situation for the administration and it's a loss for everybody else, including governance. So again, this is something that I do believe that classified placement staff do deserve a longevity pay, because if administrators can get auto allowance every year, why can't classified staff have a buy-in of their long year experience in the district?
Okay, can we take these items that we've discussed? We need to get this done and taken care of this evening so we can get it out, so we can get in for teachers for next year. This is the 26, 27. Is this something we could look at? You've got some good points there. that we can look at. We've been doing this for years. Let's look at it and get it into the next years when we've got opportunities to collect the data. Are we going to be able to collect it in the next 2 weeks or the next 4 weeks for the next meeting? Probably not. And that's not what we need to do to push these staff people into doing something quickly. Let's look at it. You've got some notes right there from his things right there. Can we look at those and see what it is and move forward with the motion that we've got a motion and a second for this particular opportunity tonight?
I just have one quick question. Ms. Musil, is this something that could be brought before the LEAP committee?
So we do normally place or put all of the placement schedules through the LEAP committee. With the compensation study just coming in, we did not have an opportunity to share these with the LEAP committee, but I will review with them at our next meeting as well.
Because I do agree, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I do agree as a classified person myself. I do agree with like what Marcus is saying with the signing on and the longevity and stuff like that. And I do know from past experience that, there are things that Littleton does for their classified that other districts do not do. But I do agree with President Nielsen that, in order for us to move forward and, go out there and get the people that we need to get, we do have to move forward. So I'm wondering if maybe especially those things could be brought before the LEAP committee and, then we could have a discussion on it.
President Nielsen, may I add some additional comments?
Please.
We do, the last couple years, we've gotten a longevity payment that was presented and approved by the governing board, and that did go to all staff, not just administrative and certified staff. So classified staff did also get that. We also have a policy that our classified staff can put in for professional growth, whether they are doing committee work outside of their contract days or they're engaging in professional growth of their own. They can put in for a 2.5% raise once every year. And that's in addition to any compensation increase that you are giving them as well. So potentially, if we take last year's compensation raise that you gave them of 2%, and then if a classified staff member did do professional growth, they could have earned a 4.5% raise just this 1 year. And that's only for obviously current staff. So did want to let you guys know about that opportunity.
Thank you, Vivian. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, we need to move on with this one. We've got a motion and a second. All of those in favor, say aye. Excuse me? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Nielsen,
Aye.
Mr. Ceniceros,
I'm going to explain my vote. I am going to abstain from this. I do believe that the concerns that I brought forward, I do look forward to them being brought forward at a future time. But again, I do not believe that in public view that administrators should be able to have auto allowance that is tied to no data and tied to no performance of where that money goes. We are allowing administrators to get unchecked money that is not required, with stipulations of requiring that they visit schools a certain amount of time each year. And so I do not support that belief. And I do believe that if we are in support of having an auto allowance for administrators, instructional support staff, any staff that works in the district office that goes to campuses should be offered an auto allowance from our point of view. Because if we're going to allow administrators with unchecked, and tonight the board is saying that's okay. But if you're a certified person in the district office who goes out and supports instructional as a coach and doesn't get auto allowance, this board doesn't really care. So I hope that staff views that. I abstain.
Mrs. Barnett,
Let me explain my vote really quickly. Like Marcus, I feel the same way. There's a lot of things, and Ms. Musil, thank you so much for putting this together. Having seen it, it's opened my eyes to a lot of things. I'm very grateful for it, and it makes me realize there are a lot of things that need to be changed. That being said, I'm going to vote the way I'm voting, only because I don't want to hold anything up and prevent our classified staff or anybody else, mostly our classified staff, from getting their money. So I am going to vote yes, with the understanding that there are going to be some changes made, there are going to be some things addressed, and things are probably going to look very different in the near future. but I don't want to hold anybody up or make anybody not get any money, because some money is better than no money. So I'll go ahead and say yes for now, with the understanding that this won't be forever.
Ms. Stoller? I'm sorry. Ms. Hushnick?
I'd like to explain my vote. I am the wife of a classified staff member, and there is no way that schools run without classified staff, and I want to give classified staff, they should be paid equal to what educators are paid, because they're doing the work that some educators and some administrators don't want to do. But I also know that we're in desperate need of classified staff, and I feel like if we were to hold this up, we are lessening the amount of time that we have to go get those quality classified staff members out there. So I am going to vote yay, but I am hopeful that we come back to this with some of the ideas Mr. Siniceros has brought forth, and just ideas to get the best staff we can, no matter if they're classified, administrator, teachers, whatever we need to do to get the best people in the building to educate our students.
Mrs. Stoller?
I don't have a long explanation. As a classified person myself for 25 years, I do think classified should be paid a lot more. I do agree with what everybody on this board has said, and in agreement with what they're saying, and to not hold up not being able to hire, the next amazing para or custodian or receptionist or secretary. I too am going to vote yes, but I do agree with with Marcus. Sorry, Marcus, I have a hard time saying your last name. I do think we need to take a deeper look at some of the things and make some changes and add some things and maybe not have some things, but I vote yes.
Thank you. I appreciate your fervor and desire to make sure that these classified people do get what they need, so thank you so much. Okay, move on to the next one.
I would like to call up Ms. Musil to discuss stipends and addenda for 26-27.
President Nielsen, members of the board, Dr. Lafitte, and governing board. I present to you today our stipend schedule for the first item. This stipend schedule is very similar to the one that we brought last year for FY26. There are there's one additional stipend added, and there is some clarity around a couple of the stipends as well. None of the amounts of the stipends increased. They all stayed consistent. To Member Stollard's question previous, the academic achievement goals is the other part of that classroom site fund plan that our teachers are eligible to get based on achievement of up to 3 goals. I'll entertain any questions that you might have.
Go ahead.
Ms. Musil, can you remind me how many extra days do our TOSAs work?
So that is on the addenda schedule.
Am I on the wrong thing? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so we're on the stipend schedule right now, but I can answer that question for you. They get 20 extra days. It's 10 embedded and 5 before and 5 after. Sorry. Nope, that's okay.
I had a question about the lead principal position. Because I know we had, Rob is now at Lincoln, and I know he was in a leadership specialist position. So, yeah. So I don't know if you could explain is that kind of like what they want that position to be?
So President Nelson, Board Member Siniceros, it's essentially someone who helps lead and guide, provide coaching, support, and resources for the other principals in the district. So currently we have kind of a combination of principals supporting each other through this process. But similar to as we may have a lead psychologist or lead other leads, it serves the same purpose.
And then so I'm assuming 5% of a base salary, depending on that person, is about an average of $5,000 to $6,000 a year.
That would sound appropriate.
Okay. And then for any of these stipends, I don't know if this question can be answered right now, but do any of these apply to classified?
These do not apply to classified staff members, no.
Are we, this is me, wanting to know.
Absolutely.
Are we allowed to create classified stipends? Is that legal? Since they're not considered hourly, since they're hourly?
So just to clarify, I believe just clarify for me, for clubs or for sports or for things like that, classified staff have those opportunities, correct?
That is true. Yes, excuse me, Dr. Lafitte, you're correct. So if we are unable to hire a certified individual for our coaches, for our athletic teams, classified staff that hold an IVP card are also eligible for those. You are correct.
Okay. And I know because my biggest concern of what I was trying to explain in our previous item about stipends for classified staff, has there been conversations? I know for resource and special education, they get between $10,000 to $7,000. So has there been any discussion to see a long-term plan? What would it cost to offer paras who work within high needs students to offer them a stipend long-term? Because I do believe that paras that work in high needs and self-containment classrooms do deserve to have extra money for being in that very, very stressful sometimes environment. So I do believe in future time we should look into offering more stipends, specifically if we're going to support the resource and support the gifted and support the special education with a lot of money additionally in stipends. They get the most out of our stipends. Our classified staff that support them in those classrooms do deserve to have a stipend that supports them in those very stressful environments sometimes. So I don't know, maybe that can be taken into consideration. I don't know if classified sit on the LEAP committee. I don't know if there is somebody who's classified sits on the LEAP committee. But just moving forward, that if that can be something to make sure that classified staff are represented, I would be in support of that, just to be taken into consideration.
So President Nelson, Member Sinisteros, I do believe that some of those positions do receive a higher grade. So I'll let Ms. Musso.
So that is, President Nielsen, Member Sinceros, Dr. Lafitte, they do. We have 3 different grades of our paraprofessionals. Our behavior support paraprofessionals that are in our self-contained specialized program get a pay differential based on their pay grade, as well as our special education paraprofessionals compared to our general education paraprofessionals. So there is a differential built in to their hourly wage for them already because of that. So, and that would be seen if you look at the classified grade schedule that was in the last item.
Anything else?
Okay, yeah, no, thank you for that. I did want to see that, yeah.
Okay, and we have a motion to approve item number C1.
I motion we move the governing board approve the staff stipends as presented for the fiscal year 26-27.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item to next one,
Yeah,
staff
Ms.
agenda.
Musso.
So the next,
Addenda?
I present to you the addenda schedule. So there is no change to the addenda schedule. This is the same one that we presented to you for this current school year. I'll entertain any questions that you might have.
There's no change. May I have a motion to approve?
Could you explain for viewers and listening to us, and just for clarification, could you explain the definition of this? Is this just considered overwork pay, extra pay that they get?
So this is pay
hourly?
outside of their contract, of
Outside
their
of their
normal
contract.
contract.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. And none of this, okay, perfect. I just wanted to know that definition.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve item C2?
A motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I will move the staff, okay.
Oh, did you approve that one? Would you please read it as it is there with the,
Okay.
thank you.
I move the governing board approve the staff addendum amounts as presented for the fiscal year 26-27.
Thank you.
I second.
Now, all in favor?
Aye.
Item D, intergovernmental agreement with the City of Avondale.
Yeah, I'm extremely excited about this one, President Nelson, Governing Board. We've been having conversations with the City of Avondale on how we can begin to strengthen our partnership, and we thought a great starting point to this was an facilities use, a shared facilities use agreement. Essentially, what we're looking to do is just approve a partnership where we can use City of Avondale facilities, they can use our facilities as well. We've discussed how sometimes they use our parking, may want to use gyms. We would use the parks without fees, things like that. So this is just to enter into that agreement.
Amy?
I'm really excited about this. I have sat on the City of Avondale's Parks and Rec Community Board for 2 years now, and I feel like I am beating my head against a wall when I'm like, hey, you have another district in the City of Avondale that you can work with. They have a great relationship with Avondale Elementary, and I keep saying like, hey, we have a bunch of kids in Littleton that live in Avondale and they need support, and why don't you come to us? Why don't you do these things? So I was very happy to see this here, and I want to thank everyone in the district who worked on this, because I think the City of Avondale has some great resources in their Parks and Rec department, and I would love to see more of our students use them.
Thank you. With that, could we have
Yeah.
a motion?
Oh,
Go ahead.
yeah, I know, I agree with Amy. I think Dr. Lafitte, in our first meeting, I said exactly what Amy said, is that we really do need to have a better partnership with the City of Avondale. So I think this is a step in a great direction, but I think also moving forward, I would love to see a marketing partnership with the City of Avondale. I think this is that first step into it with our facilities, but I think moving forward, I would love to see a marketing where we can use their light poles to put banners out and show the amazing work that our students and our staff are doing in our communities. I know Tulsa Union does it, and Avondale does it just to showcase their city throughout the streets, but knowing that they have a strong, amazing public school district, right, and that takes up almost I want to say more than 50% of their city. So I really want to see us move in this direction and even go a step further in support of a marketing partnership, hopefully, eventually in the future with them.
Thank you. With that, I have a motion to approve.
I move the governing board approve the intergovernmental agreement with the City of Avondale for purposes of facility use.
I'll
What?
second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next item.
So,
Go ahead.
item 12E, as you all are aware, we partner with, or we have support from the Littleton Education Foundation. Annually, they look to have a member on their board, an ex officio member on their board, who's from the Littleton board itself, to provide just guidance, support, and be a member of that. So the recommendation is that the board identify someone to serve in that capacity, and then we would then approve that, and then we would forward that name over to the Littleton Education Foundation.
Before we get started, Rachel has been on that committee for the past year. We appreciate your time and effort in there and working with them. All right.
I just have a quick question. I don't want to do this, but I'd like to know if whoever decides that we vote, if I could maybe shadow, because I don't understand what it's all about. So I'd like to go and just shadow to get an idea of what it's about, because when I saw it, I just didn't know what they do.
So, President Nelson, Board Member Stoller, essentially you're just a participant in the meeting. It's a non-voting member of the committee. You hear just what they're working on, what projects they have, what funding they're trying to bring in through a regular agenda, and you just get that information. Questions, you can't ask questions and so on, but it's just a non-voting role.
And how often do they meet?
think we have a meeting this month, so it's, 4 times a year, so quarterly, I believe.
I'd be more than happy to take it on this year. I know we've had a lot of different members. I think Curtis, you mentioned you were on it before, and Rachel's done it. And Linda, I'd be more than happy to see if that's legal. I don't know if that's legal, because we are ex officio member. So I'd be more than happy to keep the board updated as I go on them quarterly. Yeah. I don't know if it's a public meeting. Do we know if it's a public meeting, or is it a private meeting?
I think
It's a board meeting.
The board meeting? Is it public?
Yeah, they're not a committee of the board, so it's just a
Just-
private meeting. It's
private.
just a private meeting.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You want to do it, Linda? You want Marcus?
Okay, we have a motion on that one.
Yeah, I'll do it. So, I mean, that's, yeah.
Okay,
that's
I'll
fine.
move the governing board approve Marcus Cisnero to act as the board's ex officio member for the Littleton Education Foundation for the calendar year 2026.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Last item,
Item 13.
future agenda items. Just I'd like to remind everyone that under the Arizona open meeting law, the portion of this agenda is limited to brief suggested topics for future agenda. Discussion, debate, or direct to staff or matters not listed on the agenda is not permissible, and we stay within the legal boundaries to ensure transparency and compliance with the Arizona statute, blah, 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 blah. That's a mouthful, okay? Are y'all dumbfounded? Anything you want?
I do have one. I would like to know about the employment process, like the onboarding and stuff like that, like how often, who does the onboarding and how often we do onboarding here. And then the only other thing is, I just want to know what HR Special Projects is. That was it.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
I wanted to follow up on our board discussion and just request formally that we have a review of our field trips, our regular dated district field trips, not signatures, just regular field trips. If we could have an information or discussion item on that. And then I wanted to also have a special education review of our education, of our
Special what?
special education. Just a presentation on our special education
Okay, I
and
didn't get all
resource
the
and
words.
height and everything.
Special education
Yeah.
review.
Yeah, review or information item for the governing board. And then I wanted to review our telecommute policy from work from home practices, the policy. I wanted that to be on the agenda for a future information item. And then the last one is I wanted to have information item on support services for staff, students, and community. Just what is available for support services. This could be partnerships that we have, but just for us as a board to get an idea of what support services and partnerships do we currently have in place for certain groups.
Thank you very much. Anything else? Appreciate that. If not, next item is an adjournment. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I motion we adjourn.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all for being here.